What's up, boys? Okay, so today I'm going to bring you a quick little review of the longest serving gloves that I have in my rotation at the moment. The ONX X-factor training gloves, not only in Velcro, but also in lace-up. I have both pairs, my Velcro ones being in 16 ounce, which you can see right there on the side of the cuff. It's starting to get a little worn down, but like I said, these are the longest serving gloves in my rotation. And then also the 12 ounce lace up training glove here. When you get them, at least when I got them back in the day,
I meant to say Trevor Whitman here, just so you guys
Trevor
know.
Noah is the owner of Onyx Boxing here in Denver, and he was offering free customization at the time. These gloves are about 300 and I think it was like $313, something in that ballpark. So the fact that they're offering free customization was absolutely perfect. My customization, as you guys can see, has worn off over time, but this glove said pride, this said glove had culture, and then on these two gloves, my customization has completely gone away. Not a big deal though, not an issue. So the reason I have both 16 and 12 in my rotation is actually I got these right around my birthday. And I decided for a birthday present, I was going to go ahead and get myself a pair of these 12 ounce lace ups. I had never had a lace up to this point in time before. And so I decided I wanted a pair of lace ups. Saw these ONX X-factor training gloves and thought it was a really neat idea, not wearing hand wraps. I was dealing with some wrist issues at the time. And so I just thought that the X-factor technology that they had going around back, which I'll touch on in a little bit, was a very interesting feature that I wasn't seeing anywhere else, and so picked them up. At the same time, apparently, my girlfriend and my dad were conspiring to get me a birthday present at the same time, and I had been mentioning the X Factor training gloves because I thought they were really cool, but they didn't mention that I had ordered a pair, and they also ordered a pair of the 16 ounce Velcro gloves. So kind of poetically, my mitt gloves and bag gloves and my sparring gloves both got replaced within a few weeks of each other, both with X Factor training gloves from Onyx. So I have some pretty extensive experience with these gloves. They were my main sparring gloves and main bag gloves for the past since 2019. I think it's 2022, so 3 years, going on 3 years now. These were my two main gloves. And then I had some like other, like decals in between just for like class pad work. But fantastic gloves. Some of my favorite gloves I've ever used. So these gloves right out the box. If you don't know, with the Onyx training gloves, they utilize a heat molded foam within them. I'm not exactly sure what the exact composition of this foam is. It's not a polyurethane, I don't believe. It's not a latex foam. I'm not exactly sure what the exact breakdown of the foam is, but when you get them, it has instructions to stick a hair dryer in here for about 4 minutes on low to heat up the mold on the inside, and then stick your hands in, and then upon sticking your hands in these gloves, they start molding to your hands. You just put them on like so, and start pushing them over the knuckles and the indentations. And right off the bat, these were probably the worst feeling gloves I'd ever put on my hand right out the bat before I molded them. When I first put them on, I thought they were pieces of garbage. I was thinking I know that you're supposed to mold them, but man, these things feel terrible. But, did the molding process, did it for each glove about like 2-3 times through. And man, oh man, dude, these gloves, I mean, they're heat molded right to your hands. So of course they're going to fit like perfectly for you as an individual. But damn, man, especially without wraps on, these literally feel like they're made for your hands because that was the design. They're made for your hands, beautiful. That being said, right out the box, I did not like these at all. I threw them on and I was like, oh hell no, these things feel terrible, right? But like I said, once you actually mold them together, they one-to-one fit, man, beautiful, especially when you actually crank down on these straps and the glove really cinches around your hand. And I completely understand why you're not supposed to really wear wraps with these, because when you cinch it all down, man, there's no motion. The support's crazy good. And really the wraps is just going to be a personal preference on you. I wear wraps with them personally, but that's because my current trainer, he says, hey, you're going to fight in wraps, you're going to fight in them, so train in them. So it makes sense. However, you know, they feel, in my opinion, a lot better without wraps than they do with it. Anyways, so these gloves, I'm going to start off with the lace-up gloves because these are the ones I actually prefer. And then we'll kind of build going from there, right? So the lace-up gloves, we're talking about the X-factor system that they have going in the back of the gloves. And so what effectively that is on the inside of the glove, you can see these two yellow hooks, loops, I don't know what you want to call them, eyelets, I guess, right there, as well as these two eyelets which aren't colored up, but these two eyelets right here, both attached to the straps that feed along the back of the glove, right? So this comes in through here, up through the side, same thing over here, and then these right here pinch in the side of the glove, and it brings the glove in. So when you throw the glove on, what you're supposed to do, which I'm gonna be honest, cinching up this part, I started not doing that over time, because when you cinch up that part, it closes in right here. What I ended up noticing was that because it was closing up right here in the middle of that eyelet, have you guys ever had a pair of gloves where this part right here just put pressure on the meat of your thumb? That's effectively what this was doing. It was cinching the glove around my hand and turning it into a tight ball, but at the same time, it was creating pressure right here on my thumb. And so my thumb would end up going numb over time if I really cinched down on the glove and brought it in. So over time, I stopped doing that as much, and would just worry about cranking down these lower ones just because I didn't like the feeling of this. That being said, if you do have smaller hands, this would be a great opportunity for you guys to utilize to really close that glove around, so you don't just have a bunch of dead space right here. So it really closes in on everything. Something that I, over time kind of moved away from, just because of how the gloves fit me specifically, but that's one of the features. Right. So these two bottom loops right here wrap around the back of the glove through this X pattern that they have, and it cinches the glove. You know how like when you wrap your hands, it goes across through the knuckles, across through the knuckles? That's effectively what this system is doing, right? That X is just going across, boom to boom, and really offering the same protection that you'd get when you crisscross on the back of your hand when you wrap up. Really, really cool idea, man. And then, if you notice, another cool part about this glove is the actual wrist. We have two layers right here, right? The outer wing, which is where the laces actually loop into, and then the inner ring right here, which overlaps on top of each other. I really, really enjoy this because it adds two layers of wrapping, right? This thing wraps around your wrist and slides over it, making a really nice snug fit. And these guys right here are really what cinch in everything. And so what's actually on your wrist itself is mobile. It can move around a little bit, whereas what's getting cinched down is these. A lot of times when you have like a normal laces or gloves, I can go pick some up, but sorry if you guys could hear the road noise over there. I live right on this, I have a busy street. I don't really have a quiet place to record, so this is just the best I can do. But anyways, when like you cinch them down, the eyelets are just going down long right around down the center, and so sometimes the glove isn't able to close as much. The way that they form these, breaking out of two layers, really allows a very, very snug fit around your wrist, and probably the best wrist protection I've had in any gloves to this day as well, including all the other gloves I've gotten over the years. Fantastic. When I'll talk about material and like everything else in a second, I just want to go over kind of like what makes this glove specifically different. So, like I said, when you go ahead and crank this down, that cinches everything, and those two layers, they slide over the top of each other, right? I can crank down on this right over here. Once again, I'm not going to crank down on those top laces just because of the way it pinches down on my thumb. But when you cinch in like that, you can see how slim and form-fitted this is around my wrist. There's no dead space. It's completely snug around it. I still have mobility in here, right? But especially once I actually wrap these lacing loops around and cinch this glove in, this glove is absolutely beautiful. It really conforms tightly around the wrist. And so it's one of the slimmer feeling gloves I've personally ever used, particularly with that wrist section. When we start talking about gloves that feel like an extension of your hand, I think that the ONX lace-up gloves do a fantastic job of that because it doesn't feel like I have excess bulk, excess bullshit. The padding on the back is not, it's not crazy, right? Like it's not like there's a ton of protection, but it gives you exactly all the protection that you need, right? The protection is where it needs to be. You don't have extra fluff over here, nor do you need the padding up through in here because of the way that this lace system is oriented. You don't get the pinching right here. Everything is just sliding over each other. Beautiful glove. So I just want to go over the features of the glove that make it a little bit different before diving into the actual material choices, padding, and those more technical features of the glove. Since I'm going over that, the Velcro glove, I tried to accomplish the same similar principles as these gloves in the X-factor, just instead doing it with a 2-strap design. So you can see this strap right here feeding along to the back side of the glove over on that side, as well as this. It's gonna be kind of hard to see, but in here the strap goes down in through the side of the glove right here, and then up through this X. So both of those X patterns are just getting fed through with each individual strap, right? And so when you throw it in, whoops, wrong hand. When you throw it in, we're doing a similar kind of principle. This guy right here is pulling my thumb and palm in together, strapping up at the top right there. And this one pulls the other side in, right, to pull everything around my hand. And it does effectively the same job. It just does so in a stiffer kind of fashion. This one feels a little bit, not looser, I don't think that's the correct term for it, but it feels more slim, free, and not as, I guess the way to put it would be like alien, I guess. This one feels like it's a part of me. This one feels like it's attached to me because of the strapping system, which is one of the reasons why I like the Velcro just a little, or not the Velcro, the lace up more than the Velcro. One of the things about the Velcro also, because we're using this tool lace design and we have the straps going long, it is a bulkier fit around the wrist, right? Now, once again, this has been my sparring glove, and it is 16 ounce, so it is a bigger profile than the 12 ounce. Excuse me while I take a sip. Just drinking some tea right now. It's a little bit later in the afternoon than when I usually film these. But yeah, it's just a little bit bulkier around the wrist, stiffer, offers more support, but in my opinion, I vastly prefer the slimness of the profile of the lace ups. I know it's 12 ounce to 16 ounce, so they're not going to be apples to apples in terms of like the sizing and fit on hand. But I prefer the support structure and how the wrist feels on the lace ups a lot more. One of the things about the lace ups also is because they go through the straps, we have 2 points right here, right? A buckle to help keep the integrity right there, and also right there. And these are my sparring gloves. So what I ended up noticing is that, I wish I had the other glove on, I would have my guard up sometimes. And you know how sometimes you get hit and like your hand almost like hits yourself? Well, there would be times where I had like a little bit more of an open guard, a little bit tighter, you know, like I was playing this kind of game, and I get hit, and this buckle would hit me like right in the eye, like right around this eyeball area, right? And it's a little bit hard. It was a little bit uncomfortable, and I felt really stupid, you know, just hurting myself because I was trying to block some stuff, and then this buckle just hits me in the face. Not my favorite. Anyways, those are the differences between these gloves that the uniqueness of these gloves compared to other gloves on the market is going to be that heat molded foam, and then the X-factor lacing system on this one, strapping system on this one. Both accomplishing the same goal, just doing it in a slightly different way. So let's move on to material choices. So Trevor Whitman is not a believer in leathers. He believes that leathers, being an organic material, inherently degrade faster, are easier to tear, and just not a superior material choice when we're talking about like performance good, and that makes all the sense in the world, honestly. Leather is great, but also leather is going to always have uniformity issues. Leather, because it is an organic material, can break down and decay over time, especially if not cared for. And so he opted to go with a synthetic material on this. And oftentimes synthetics, most of the synthetics you see on the market are going to be pretty cheap synthetics. I know that there are good synthetics out there, with the Fly X line, and then some other synthetic materials. That's the one that jumps off the bat to me as being, quality. These ones have a grain to them. I don't know if you can see that, but they do have a grain, and they almost do feel like leather. Like, no joke. They don't smell like leather. And if you know what you're looking at, it's different. But these don't have a synthetic feel to them. They have a grain. They have uniqueness. And they're extraordinarily durable, man. I've never come into issue of these ripping. It's a little bit loose on the actual glove itself. Like, it's not super tight. But like I said, I've had no issue with these ripping in any places. They've held up 3 years on. 3 years on. And if I were to sell these to someone, I would feel very good about it. I don't think I'd be selling them a beat up glove. And these ones specifically have been my main sparring glove for the past 3 years. These ones are a little bit more beat up, but that's just because I use them on the heavy bag and stuff a lot more. The only durability issues that I'm running into here is just a little bit of not fraying, but you can see right here I have stitches starting to come a little bit loose right there, but it's not running along. It's not. I have no concerns about these things falling apart on me. Over here on the cuff, you can kind of see it's starting to fray just a little bit there, but the seams are strong. Everything's holding up beautifully. All of the major structural components of this glove remain perfectly intact. The liner is still holding up just fine. I've noticed on the lace-ups, there is a little bit more of a looser liner in these. Hold up, my sister's calling me, so I might have to break this into 2 sections. Give me a second. Sorry about that. My sister just ended up coming over. Apparently she was outside, and we just hung out for a little bit. So I'm actually recording this the next day. Same hoodie, but that's just because Lisa, it is a comfortable hoodie. But anyways, I was talking about the liner within the gloves, right? And I believe what I was saying prior to this was that I feel that the liner and the lace-ups has a slightly more baggy feel than the liner here within the Velcro gloves. And they do, but it's not a significant difference between the glove. That could just be a difference in from pair to pair and whatnot. But the liner is really, really soft. It's probably the softest and smoothest liner I have across all of my gloves. It feels really, really nice, man. It's one of those things where I never really thought of the liner too much because I was just using these as my main training gloves for like I said, 3 years. Are my main bag gloves. And I really didn't start branching out to other gloves until the past probably year and a half. And so I never noticed how nice the liner was until I started getting other gloves. And that's really when this liner became very apparent to me. Because you throw in other gloves, they have different types of liners. And I was using them for a while because I was moving away from these. And when I went back to these, it's just night and day. It's oh shit, these actually are a premium feeling glove. Yeah, one of the best feeling gloves on hand from a fit perspective, from a an actual on hand comfort perspective from the lining. Really, really solid. So liner is absolutely fantastic. I had previously mentioned that the stitching and all of the major structural components of the glove are holding up just fine. Hey, I'm about to sneeze, so excuse me for a second. My bad. I am so sorry about that. I'm sure that's gonna ruin someone's day because it just blew out the ear. But I'm sorry about that, man. Super weird. It's over. I'm over in Denver right now, and the weather. I just moved here about a year ago, and the weather is freaking crazy. Like 3 days ago, it was 100-degree heat wave, and then it's like on Friday it was 100-degree heat wave. On Saturday it was 50 degrees, raining, and then I heard that in parts of Denver is even snowing. And then the next day it was back up to 80 degrees. So I have no clue what's going on with the weather, but I wasn't prepared for the cold, and damn, I picked up a cold. Wouldn't take a self-treatment and whatnot. But anyways, back to the gloves. I'm sure you guys don't want to hear me rambling. I'm already like 20 some odd minutes into this. When we start talking about the padding on the glove, right, between the 12 ounce and the 16 ounce, this padding is really interesting. It is heat molded, right, so it conforms really well to your fist. But the difference between the 12 ounce and the 16 ounce is really night and day, right? Like the 12 ounce, the crack on the bag and on the pads is so nice. It feels like there's not any disconnect. Like I'm right on that punching surface, and it feeds through the glove really, really nicely. It's protective, so I'm not hurting my hands or nothing like that. But it feels very similar, a little bit less springy than a latex glove, but it has like a similar punch through it where, like, when I connect, it feels like I'm truly connecting with the bag instead of sometimes you use like a polyurethane or some of those other foams, and there's a disconnect between you and whatever surface you are that you're hitting, whether that's a person, a pad, or a bag, right? With these, it just felt like I was hitting directly onto that surface, and a beautiful crack. Really, really fun. Specifically fun on the mitts because they form really closely to my hand, so they feel super light, super quick, and probably still to this day my favorite glove to use when working pads. I really, really like it. On the bag, I'm starting to move towards some gill gloves for my bag work instead of these guys. But for the pads, those are still king. When it comes to sparring with these gloves, or the padding on these gloves, it's weird. They're 16 ounce, they're the same padding, but because of the extra foam that's in this, I don't feel the same level of connection when I hit bags and pads, right? So I don't like using this glove for bag work or pad work at all. It has more of that disconnect kind of feel, which is perfect for sparring gloves, honestly, because it doesn't feel like my knuckles are sinking through onto my training partner's face. It feels like there's an adequate level of protection. And if you watch, Trevor Whitman has like a breakdown video of the different types of foams and why he utilizes the material that he utilizes on these gloves. And it's kind of interesting. He takes like a metal bearing ball and drops them on latex pads, and it bounces up like crazy. Latex has a springy feel to it. He drops on some polyurethane, and it doesn't spring as much, but you still hear it like make contact with the surface below it, and it still has a bounce to it. But then when he drops on this foam, there's almost no bounce, and it doesn't pierce through, which is really interesting. So it was just showing how like it really does a good job of absorbing the impact and deadening the impact of the blow. And that's kind of what I feel with these. I don't think that my sparring partners think this is a hard-hitting glove per se. Of course, there's some like softer gloves out there in the world. This does have a denser padding, but this does a good job of making sure my knuckles aren't piercing through. And I've always felt this is adequate padding especially for a sparring glove. And it just feels really good. So the padding, the 16 ounce, I would not recommend for bag and pad work personally. However, it's really good for sparring. And then the 12 ounce feels fantastic for the bag and the pads. So that just might be like a density of the foam thing. Like once you start getting to lower densities, the characteristics of the foam change because it's not as thick of it. just kind of interesting. I haven't noticed that much variety in other types of foam padding. That being said, other gloves, I don't have them in multiple sizes. My other gloves, I typically have them in one size. This is just a unique thing. All right. So, let's pop this guy off for a second. I know this is going to end up being a longer review, specifically because it broke into 2 sections. But still, let's bring this up over here. So these gloves, man, these are honestly, like, if I'm gonna put all chips on the table, these are probably still to this day the best gloves that I've ever put on my hands and utilized. And the only real reason that I am buying other types of gloves and like branching out into the market is, one, I used to be a sneakerhead, so I just get a kick out of the little differences between gloves. I like collecting gloves. I like the way they look. I like getting different material choices, getting gloves from different regions because they all have different little components to them. Like Mexican-made gloves are very different from Thai-made gloves, which are very different from Japanese-made gloves, and then the Pakistanis, you know. I haven't branched into the Italian market yet, but Donardo, one day I'm coming for you. But yeah, the main if I just wanted like one pair of gloves to do everything, I'd probably stick with ONX, and I'd probably, if I'm being honest, replace these Velcro gloves with a 16-ounce lace-up because I like the way that these fit a little bit more. These are more convenient in terms of getting them on my hands fast and whatnot, but I really enjoy the wrists specifically in the lace-up gloves. I think they feel so perfect, just one-to-one, man. Now, these are harder to get on because of the strapping system. The strapping system does make it snug right here, so squeezing your hand past that, especially when you're wearing wraps that adds some bulk, is more difficult, right? So they're not the easiest glove to get on and off, which is one of the reasons why I mentioned that these were my bag and pack gloves. These were my sparring gloves, but then I also picked up a pair of cowls when I was utilizing these a lot more for in-class work, so that way I can easily take them on and off and switch around. But yeah, if I'm just getting like a pair of gloves just for purely like the ones that perform the best, I'd probably get another pair of these and lace-ups. But that's not where I'm at in my kind of when I look at the glove market today, you know. I'm gonna be honest, variety does mean something to me, and the reason why I'm branching out is because I did want some variety. I wanted to have different types of gloves that offer different types of padding, that have different designs, you know, different weight distributions, different stitching patterns, different liners, just for the variety of it. You know, I'm training. Well, right now, I'm a little bit hurt, so I'm sidelined at the moment. I just got an MRI on my knee. I've been dealing with like an MCL issue for the past few months. That I've been kind of a meathead about it, but whatever, that doesn't matter. But anyways, I want variety. I train a lot, and so being able to have a variety of gloves is important to me. That being said, if I'm just strictly like I don't care about like variety, I'm just looking for straight up performance, these still probably are the best gloves that I've put on my hands. They're expensive gloves and whatnot, but they're really are very well made gloves. Durability is outstanding. Material choice is beautiful. The construction, like the technology that's actually in the gloves, is something that you're not going to find elsewhere. The only other spot that would look in terms of having these unique features probably be something like Hayabusa, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't like Hayabusa, which is kind of weird because they utilize a similar principle in terms of how their strapping system works, how the glove is like made. It's kind of a similar principle where they're trying to make the glove itself useful independent of whether or not you wrap your hands. However, the way Hayabusa executes it, I don't like. I don't like the way the glove feels on hand. I don't like the rigidity of it. The padding, I'm not a fan of. These ones do literally everything like premium, which is why they have a premium price point, right? But this is a premium glove, man. This is a high-tech glove. You know, there are other gloves out there that you can get that, you know, like the handmade like Mexican gloves and whatnot, a box LTM. I have a pair of new Sportings coming in, which I'm excited about. And some of those other traditional glove makers, they're really, really quality gloves, but they don't have the technology that these gloves do. So, honestly, man, I know that ONX doesn't have like as big of a name within like boxing itself, like pure boxing. I really think that they should. It's not just an MMA brand. I know these look more MMA because of the dual strapping system. But these gloves, man, if you want to protect your hands, you want a custom fitting glove that's gonna last you a while, man, it is hard to go wrong with them. I will say the one thing that I dislike about the lace-up gloves, bro, I know I'm just like raving about these gloves. I do have a gripe. If you notice, there's an eyelet right there that I'm not utilizing. The laces are a little short, I'm gonna be honest. The laces are a little bit short, and when you actually lace up into those, the lace is too short to even like wrap. Like right now, like look how much like spare lace I have. I have like no spare lace. So I really feel that the lace and loop is kind of a must for this, because either lace and loop or swap out the laces. But the laces do have like a cool like ONX logo throughout them, so the laces look cool, but they're just a little short, right? But you know, throw on a pair of lace and loops or swap out the laces for something a little bit longer if you'd like, and you solve that issue right there. That's the one thing that I don't like about the glove, to be honest. But it's an easily solvable issue. It's not the end of the world. Anyways, man, I'm rambling. This is gonna be like a 30-minute fucking review. I probably shouldn't cuss. I don't know if that's important for YouTube or not, but whatever. Beautiful glove. Highly recommend. If you want one glove to do it all, man, the lace-ups in these. They are outstanding quality. They'll last you a lifetime. And, man, good gloves.